You've already seen the title of the video and I don't like wasting people's time, so let's jump right into it. And the first thing I want to say is all this has to do with changing expectations. It's setting something up and then making a slight tweak, which adds a lot of intrigue and excitement to what we're hearing as the listener. So the first thing that I want to talk about is rhythmic phrasing. We have a 4-bar phrase, as with common in most modern pop songs and most music in general. And what I want to show you and highlight is the fact that this 4-bar phrase has a fairly consistent rhythmic element to it until we get to the last bar, and it commands a lot of attention to pay attention to that last line in this phrase. So let's take a listen to that.
So you wanted me to cut it off, and you're begging me to break right down. Praying on your knees, saying pretty please. Get it in your head, never laying in that bed now.
So just the fact that it went from ba 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 to da 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 ba da ba da ba ba, like that's a very drastic change. And again, it makes us think, oh wow, this is important. There's been a dramatic change at this moment, so I better pay attention to that line. And then on top of that, something else I did, because it's the most important line of the entire chorus, it's that kind of like final FU, like, come on, like, why aren't you listening to me? I'm never gonna come back to you ever again. We really wanna drive that point home. So the second thing that I wanna talk about really quick is changing from just simply a center lead vocal to a gang kind of several layers all at the same volume and panned out vocal. So you could call that a gang vocal or a doubled vocal with no lead. So it's really just a difference in these vocals up the middle here versus 4 of them panned out all at the same volume. So I just want to highlight again that difference that's going on. And if you have headphones on or you're listening in stereo, listen to that difference. When it goes from here and then pans out to the side, it's very dramatic.
Praying on your knees, saying pretty please. Get it in your head, never laying in that bed now.
And again, it's just about saying, hey, this line's important, pay attention to this line. So anytime that there's a very specific thing that needs to stick out vocally, you can always think about adding more layers and getting rid of even something in the center to just really have this kind of call and response, or just to highlight a specific line or a whole specific section without having a centered singular lead vocal under, kind of dominating the space. The third thing I want to cover here is melodic choice, because in pop music, sitting on the tonic note and having too much beautiful, perfect resolution is not something that we find a lot, especially in the pop vocal. So what I wanted to highlight here is the difference in if we have just placed our melody slightly more resolved and neutral sounding, and how boring that can feel immediately, as opposed to just moving up slightly in the scale and that difference. So let's first listen to the more vanilla option, which would be just moving the beginning notes down 1 notch. Yike. So that's no good. I'm gonna show you what the real main melody is here. And all we did here is move from the C, which is kind of the resting note in the scale, and we moved it up to a D note. So we have a little bit of tension. It's not tension that's like that kind of tension, but it's a little bit mysterious and a little unrested without sounding too dark and dissonant, which is the line that we're looking to walk here. For the theory nerds, in the minor key, we're singing the 4, or in the major key, we're singing the 2, which does seem to come up a lot. And so you can even see here the difference between singing this higher pitch, the D, makes the resolved feeling on this C note feel resolved compared to just sitting there the entire time. So I'm often looking to place a melody in a way that adds some excitement without sounding too overly resolved. And I want to highlight that again, even in the chord progression itself, because what we have here is a descending bass line while keeping the same top right-hand triad the same. And if we eliminate that movement, it sounds so bland if we just stick on that same chord as well. So here it is with the same chord with the proper vocal melody. That technically on paper works, and you could say that anything works on paper, but this harmonically doesn't sound awful, but it just sounds boring as crap. So just by moving the bass line around and moving it downwards, well, even keeping the majority of the notes the same, we hear that drastic difference. And again, it's all about that tension and release, and we don't get that if we stay on the same note, the same rested space the entire time. So the next thing I want to talk about here is something we've already heard a little bit, is that pitched down octave vocal. This is a very trendy sound to put into your song, and that's okay. There's no hate. There's no hate at all for jumping into something that's on trend. And this is a great tool because it can just be used to, again, highlight certain lines, reframe the phrasing, which I did here, or it can just be a simple, enhancement to what the lead vocal is already doing, like I have here kind of in the second half of the chorus. So let's go ahead and take a listen. This, again, if you're unfamiliar with it, it's just taking the lead vocal, which is this.
Praying on your knees, saying pretty please.
And pitching it down an octave.
Praying on your knees, saying pretty please.
Which I'm doing with the Auto-Tune EFX Plus plugin. If you're interested in this plugin, I do have links to it down below. This is kind of a more advanced version with this feature, which I absolutely love, a lot of the effects processing in it. So if you're interested in getting into the deep world of this, there's a link below so you can try it out and get it for yourself. It's the same plugin I use on everything that I produce. But with that being said, this on just this line adds an extra level of dynamic that wouldn't be there if we just kept the lead vocal going. So let's listen with and then without it so you can kind of hear the difference of what we're talking about. Oh, sorry, we have the piano going. And without. And more so than just doing it for the sake of doing it, I'm doing it because we have a melodic change and we have a little bit of an attitude change. Praying on your knees, saying pretty please, that's a pretty dark, ominous line. So to accent it with the low pitch down octave vocal makes sense in the story of the voice. And that's an important side thing. This isn't involved in it in the original intent or the notes that I have for this video, but it is to use these effects because it tells the story of the song, not because I can literally do it and I should do it because I have the technical ability to pull it off with a plugin. I'm making these choices because it serves the story that we're telling here with the lyric and with the story of this track. So now with that being said, I'm gonna jump into the next thing, which is differentiating choruses or just halves of even the same chorus with a harmony, which is often an easy thing to add into a track, but it doesn't have to be over the top or massive to have a big impact in the texture that we're working with here. So I just wanna show you, this is a very simple harmony right here.
So you wanted me to cut it off.
Nothing crazy. It's just singing the root note. It's singing the A, so I think we're singing the fourth part and then kind of droning and moving in that direction. So if you play just without it and then I'm gonna bring it in, you'll hear the difference where you don't necessarily even sing the harmony, but it does elevate it just slightly and it makes us really wanna just be a little more intrigued by what's happening compared to without it.
So you wanted me to cut it off, and you're begging me to break right down. So you wanted me to cut it off, and you're begging me to break right down.
So this is a super simple and effective tool to just differentiate a chorus in a really easy way where you can still sing the same melody, but add an additional layer where the casual listener may not even know that it's a harmony, but they're gonna say, oh, something's different here. I like that. And that is, of course, what we're looking. Oh my God, my computer just revved up. That's what we're looking to do here. So the very last thing is what you've already probably seen and heard on this, what I call the lead mod track that we have going on, is automating effects on and off for a specific word or phrase in our melody. What I did here is it's every single time on the word
Down.
I added real extra cascading delay and reverb just because it, again, accents the story we're trying to tell. So you're,
And you're begging me to break right.
and you're begging me to break right down. So that kind of melodically is this tumbling phrase, and then we have this delay that's kind of going down, 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 which is echoing how much this situation is infuriating, and it's like you just want to break down with it, like break down from all the frustration and the angst that you've gone through in this situation. So because of that, I made the decision, in the mix or in the production of it, to give that down this cascading energy, and it also creates an interesting accent that honestly punctuates the entire cycle a lot more than if it was just a normal part of the melody. So let's go ahead and check that out. I'm gonna show you what it would sound like just as a normal piece of the melody with no extra effects, and then we'll bring it back in and you'll hear that big difference.
So you wanted me to cut it off, and you're begging me to break right down, praying on your knees, saying pretty please.
And here it is now, back with the effects on.
So you wanted me to cut it off, and you're begging me to break right down, praying on your knees, saying pretty please.
And it just punctuates things in a really special, exciting way that tells the right story, makes some ear candy excitement for the listener, and makes sense to the story. I said it twice because it's actually that important to make sure that we're not using these powerful weapons just for the sake of doing them with no context or reason or energy behind it. We do want it to serve a purpose, and that purpose, as always, is the story and the song. If you like this video and you want to check out that plugin, there's a link to it down below, as well as other videos that you can go and watch as well. I'm sure you've liked the video by now and are subscribed. If you haven't, please do so. It helps me out tremendously, and I love making these videos, so knowing that you guys like them too is super helpful for me. With that being said, now get out there, work hard, and make something truly amazing. Peace.